Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mooketsi. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. There we go. Let's see now. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mooketsi, Bennedict Tekere. I'll be chairing today's session, which our lead panelist is Mr. Justice William. In brief, the purpose of this call or this discussion is to capture insights around the Citizen Economic Empowerment Law, which, as you know, has been tabled up to Parliament. Just as a brief introduction, I run a technology accelerator, and I've been given this assignment by Business Botswana to capture online insights in terms of the thinking around how we could change the act and how we could have an input into the upcoming law that's coming up. So we have selected a few champion entrepreneurs and leaders from the ecosystem, cross-country and outbound, to give us direction in terms of their thinking around this law and this discussion that's going on around the Citizen Economic Empowerment Law. So for today's purpose, we are looking at an agenda that's flexible. So we will have a presentation from Justice, just from his own perspective around the guide questions, and then we'll open up for questions. And then further to that, we will have just you have your own input that you can send directly on email, or you can put on this chat. Just on the support side, we are streaming this this video conference live on Facebook, and we do have a team that's capturing all the insights that will be discussed here, and a report will be put together. So, so that don't take much of your time, Justice. I would like to now give the floor to you in terms of your thinking and your perspectives.
Yeah, I have to go. All right, sharp. Hey, all right. Hello, Mr. Tekere.
Mr. William, you're welcome.
Hello. Yes, sir. So thank you for sharing. You do a good job. I think you do a better job today.
So you can go ahead, Justice. I think maybe the first part is maybe you could introduce yourself. I know you are a man of the moment currently in Botswana. You are the man to keep an eye on, and we would like to get your thoughts and just to know you a bit, and then we can jump straight into the discussion agenda.
All right. Dumela Baez. My name is Justice William. I'm the CEO of Asante Group. Some of you, most people don't know Asante Group. It's a technology company with innovations that we do, and also we do work for customers like BTC. We have done some work for BURS. Actually, the last payment system that we were using during the holidays, we initially helped BITRI to build it so that Botswana can have a payment system. I can't say mess it up at the end because we dropped out of the project the way when it went live. It was a pretty sweet system, and I think until they messed it up. But generally, we are a development company. We are very passionate about very passionate about improvement in Botswana because we ourselves, we create so many things of our own, and we have suffered because of this issue. So it's something that is very close to our hearts to make sure that this law is defined properly, is defined to benefit young Botswana, to benefit Botswana in general, because we all know what is happening in Botswana right now. That's just me in a nutshell. Thank you. Back to you, Tekere.
So anyway, thank you very much, Justice, for that. Perhaps maybe let me just shoot it straight to you, Justice, to ask you, in your own perspective, do you think it's the right time to bring the citizen economic empowerment law for Botswana? And where do we start?
Now, it's not just a question of the right time, it's way overdue. The economic law is way overdue. Countries beat us to it, but South Africa had BEE. From the very beginning, once they got their democracy, they knew they had to address the issue of economic empowerment, especially for their Black folks. Botswana has been living under the illusion that it's empowered for countless generations. And in actual fact, we can see that Botswana were never empowered. So it's overdue. It is really way overdue, especially now that we see that. Now, the issue is we're talking about it right now because now the issue of empowerment, the imbalance of economic participation is flagrantly in everybody's face. We can all see it, certain groups. But back then it was more convenient for the government to just let it go.
So just to get your further thinking on this, do you think the questions that have the guiding questions that have been posed by the Ministry of Trade in terms of trying to formulate the law itself, do you think those are sufficient? Do they start off correctly? And before I actually go to the questions themselves, I just want you to give us your own direction in terms of as to whether if the approach or the model is correct.
I definitely think the approach and the model is not correct. It's not correct in the sense that, okay, I think the people who formulate this particular model, they are not the people suffering from empowerment. They are not the people suffering from empowerment. They are doing it to tick boxes, like we need to show that we are doing something about this thing. I think if it had started correctly, it would not even be called citizen empowerment, economic empowerment. See, South Africa was bold. They went straight to the problem and said it's a Black empowerment, economic empowerment. You see, it's very clear. They are saying, look, it's not even a question of whether citizens are empowered. Yes, we know the Blacks are almost % of that country. But they didn't pretend it was a citizen empowerment thing. They said, no, this is clear, a Black empowerment issue. So if Botswana were serious, they would have approached it from the point of, let's say, what the issue is. It's not a citizen because at the end of the day, all these people, they are citizens. It's addressed, I think from the very beginning, it shows that it's not going to bear any fruit. Because when I produce my Omang by the system of a different color, will produce a Omang at the same time. It's a citizen, so what do we do?
So, I mean, so there's an issue of the top-down approach vis-a-vis the bottom-up approach. So to get to the solution perspective, Justice.
Yes.
In your own perspective, because the consultative platform Business Botswana, which I think for me, it's set up the bottom-up approach, guide. Who do we start with? Do we start with the Botswana the indigenous Botswana, and who's that indigenous Botswana? Ramona Yang from a business perspective to say we want to do bottom up because we are seeing this law, it's a top down approach, and we all know top down approach has led all of us in a lot of problems. So ke batla go itse gore go mo bottom ko pyramiding ko tase kwa re semolla ha kae ke mang o re semollang kae ne re consult mang and re ira yang before I go to questioning.
Okay. Now you have said it right. When I said the people who authored it are clearly the people impacted by this economic empowerment, I meant clearly what you said is it's a top-down approach. It's coming from the top. It's coming from people who don't really know what to actually not have empowerment. Now, yes, it is a tricky thing. Ideally, something like this, something that's because this thing, Botswana's got a serious capture, to be honest. Now, this state capture is not a new thing in Botswana. It is as old as a lot of young people were born into it. Because I remember back in the old days when somebody paid for MPs who had defaulted at NDB. That was the early stages of the state capture. It happened back then. From that moment, nobody ever stood in his way. So ideally, this problem should be addressed by a referendum, where it's actually put before Botswana, a referendum of some kind where we say, okay, how do we deal with this? So Botswana can come out and say, look, this is what we mean by Botswana. This is an indigenous thing at the referendum level. Now, referendums take time, they cost money. If we wanted to do it, let's Business Botswana obviously would actually be a good platform to formulate the ideas of citizen economic empowerment, which we should be giving the government, not the government giving us for feedback. We should be giving. These are the points that I think Business Botswana would be a good framework, and all other areas of they could have citizen empowerment approach coming from Botswana Innovation Hub, if Botswana Innovation Hub was effective. BIH saying, look, this is what the innovators are saying. Business Botswana saying, this is what companies are saying. All sectors coming and saying, this is what people are saying. And then we put together those ideas, and that formulates the platform for which we can do business empowerment. I mean, the economic empowerment. But right now, this one is not going to be effective. If we continue the way it is, with this feedback that we are doing, first of all, chance of it being taken into consideration is minimal because it's a top-down. Then we won't actually see value because the people who are, they are not hungry, they don't see empowerment. They sit down with the state captures in big beer halls and drink alcohol together.
Right. So I think the essence of what you're saying is that the framework in which we consult the citizen, the model needs to change so that there is actually inclusive, approach in terms of building policy. But I'm not a policy maker, so I leave this one, to be challenged on another platform in terms of really how should policy be driven. But I guess the advice there in terms of the private sector itself is probably for the private sector to strengthen its approach and its modality in terms of uptaking any possibilities of new laws or policies or laws as they're advanced. So just moving forward, just to bring those up to speed who are joining in, we are discussing the Citizen Economic Empowerment Law, which this forum is serving as an online consultation platform. As you all probably already know, this has been initiated by the Ministry of Trade, Investment, Ministry of Investment, Trade, and Industry. And the main objective really is to make sure that there is inclusiveness and we promote effective and meaningful participation by all Botswana. So today we have Justice William, who's a well-known entrepreneur in this space, in this ecosystem in Botswana, sharing his insights about the framework in itself. So Justice, moving forward, it seems there are 9 empowerment indicators of the citizen economic empowerment policy.
So Mr. Tekere, before you say something, before you continue, let me just say that in the past, and serious consultative things are not new to Botswana. We need to change laws, the law of voting, and all this. We did a referendum. It's a question of, do we see the gravity of the situation? I think the powers that they don't recognize this thing as grievous enough, as grave enough to warrant some serious consultation. But yet, when you look at how Botswana are living, how people are struggling, how the attrition rate of companies in Botswana is around 2 years they are dead, it's really something that should have required something that is deeply consultative.
Right. So
yes.
So you mentioned strongly, you keep emphasizing a lot on the modality towards consultation, Justice. So do you, I mean, I'm keen on reviewing that particular, way in which we consult, so that, no one is left behind. Because one of the strong elements here is to make sure that this is all inclusive. So you mentioned that it seems the ordinary Motswana is left behind. So besides bottom-up approach, what is the quick win? Task the leadership to say, we want 1, 2, 3 changed before discuss.
Okay, just 2 years ago, when the government wanted to introduce the e-voting, they took the e-voting discussion all the way to the communities, and the communities made an input. So we could be having the business Botswana input from the business perspective based on the needs, the challenges that the business sector is experiencing. The innovation community can do the same, but it is not stopping a consultative process. Now, the task force is put in place that goes and reaches to, like we did when we were talking about 18-year-olds getting to vote. I believe this thing is hint community a lot. That's why our grandmothers do when we are able to buy them. That we need to take away. An ordinary Motswana, like a Motswana who has been thrown out by the Aborono Hotel, you can't sell here. They need to have in this thing to empower them, because we're empowering them. We have a top-down approach when the issue is not affected. But the people who are making the decisions who are at the top are staying in Pakalan, they are empowered, they are taking the right cars, so they don't see this as a problem. So that's why I'm saying actually take it to the people who are suffering for it. Yeah, Mr. Tekere, take it to other participants. I think I've said my
Yeah, I think we have about 5 minutes. Then we open up for the Q&A and questions, because I see people are raising their hand, and it's very important that at least I let you comment on the relevance or non-relevance of the indicators. As I said to you, there are 9 empowerment indicators, which I'll read out aloud, and you are free to comment as to which ones you think need to change. The first one is, looking at ownership of land and property by citizens. The second one, ownership of business by citizens.
Okay.
Can we just ask you to
okay. What's going on?
So that is the empowerment yeah.
Okay, sorry, we had a Zoom boomer there for a minute. Sorry, everybody, it happens. So like I was saying, we have 9 empowerment indicators. I just want to capture from you, Justice, for the next 4 minutes, your indicative preference as to the relevance or non-relevance of these. As I mentioned, the first one speaks to the ownership of land and property by citizenship. The second one looks at ownership of business by citizenship. The third one looks at employment at managerial and professional levels by citizenship. Then the fourth one looks at reduction in unemployment rates by citizenship. And then number 5 looks at tertiary education output by citizenship linked to the requirements of the economy. 6 looks at procurement and share of government business going to citizen entities. 7 looks at citizen shareholding of the Botswana Stock Exchange. Then 8 looks at share of gross domestic product attributable to the private sector. And the last one looks at the reduction in government contribution to GDP. So maybe just as there, the issue for me there is, what are these really relevant in your view? Have they captured your CCE? Kare batanga ting. Kana gona le ha sengwe se re sa simololang sentle ka sone.
Unmute. Oh, can you hear me now? Sorry. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I think I started talking while I had muted. Thank you. The answer, I would say no. Because of these are 9 indicators. The one that I think is without something that is at the mouth and maybe the mind of most Botswana is ownership of land. Because I think Botswana it's a, whenever Botswana apply for land, there's always a say that land is not ready, land has not been serviced, land has not been this. But if you look at what is happening with land, we need a land audit, to be honest. We need a land audit in Botswana because there are some people that proportionally own that own two land. Right word is not proportionally. And so we need a land audit to make sure to look at what does the average own. And then we need to get away from this concept of saying Botswana cannot be given land because land is being serviced. Because right now, if you go to Tlokwen Land Board, you'll find around 10 to 20,000 applications that have been waiting, and they have stopped accepting some because land has not been serviced. So Botswana are left out. Most of these other ones, I don't think they are, to me, I think they are pointers that are not going to get us anywhere. The one that I think is missing, the index that we use for economic growth measurements. This thing of using, we are talking about Botswana growing by 5%, but we're not looking at how people economically they are going. I think most Botswana, either they are stagnant or they are not going anywhere or going down. When we are talking 5%, so the economic indices being used are not actually favorable for developing people. The Botswana will put a size chunk in the GDP, and we has gone up, our GDP, our this. But at the end of the day, have you looked at the average Botswana? What are the numbers indicating for the average Botswana has been moved along? And I think we are being left out. Tertiary education, again, I think tertiary education output by citizenship linked to requirements of the economy. Obviously, I think we need to re-look at our tertiary education system to see whether we are just filling our people with theory and nothing that is practical. We need to move away from graduating degree holders who can't do anything, getting more of people who can do artisans, promoting artisans, where now people get to the degree by going through the technician route. So we need to evaluate that and promote that, and not just have all our children go into university getting a paper theory, but if you try to give them anything, they can't do anything. I know because we employ a lot of people, employ UB students, BAC, Boto, and all this, and they come, a lot of time you can't do anything with them. We really can't do anything. It takes a few months just to get value out of somebody. And as a young company, we cannot afford to wait a few months for you to start adding value. So I think these are not really touching ownership of business by citizenship. What does that mean? Does that mean I go to SIPA, I register a business? I can do that. But what happens to that business within 2 years? But Botswana is rated as one of the highest countries where people are registering business at a very high rate. But almost all those businesses, 90% of them are dead within 2 years. business. They are not operational because it's easy to register a business, but then you try to operate, there is no opportunity, there is nothing. Obviously, I dislike the tender processes, but that's where now a lot of business try to go to, and eventually now it's a system that is skewed towards some people. Unemployment rates reduction, that one, I don't think we can really say much about it because unemployment is going up in Botswana. We are now pouring graduates directly straight into unemployment. So I think these questions, I think we're just questions here. Right again, you have heard.
Yeah, thank you very much, Justice, for your insights. I would like at this point to open up the floor for some few comments onto what Justice has said. We have timed this approximately for 10 minutes because the idea is that there will be other series of discussions which you are free to also participate in. So at this juncture, I would like to thank Mr. William and just open up for questions. You can raise your hand so that I can unmute you or so that you can be able to make a comment. I see we have Kebale Tau, who's raised a hand. I will just ask you to unmute and then you can answer, and then followed by somebody else. There's no name, it says A20, so we will unmute both of you so that you can ask your question. Please keep it short and straight to the point.
Afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you, Ray Williams, for your informative comments. But my comment is just straightforward and simple, that this CEE, it seems like its approach is starting from the top, like you said, while we need to start from the bottom. The government already have analysis, or they have data in terms of businesses that needs to be run in the country. And that's something that we need to go for. Issue of referendum sometimes it becomes a little bit skewed because people end up asking leading questions so that they can tick the box. So using the data that we have in terms of how many Botswana are running businesses, how many Botswana are really eager to run their businesses, but they don't have support, that information is available. But if you look at, for instance, issue of Young Farmers Fund, that was a very good approach, but it wasn't managed properly because we were giving somebody some money, the guy doesn't, or the lady doesn't have the skill to do that kind of business. My thinking was during that period was, if really people apply for that Young Farmers Fund, people are taken for an intensive program or attachment to those entities, farms, for those who pass, then they are given the money to run that business. Issue of land is a problem as well. We all need a lot of land, we need land, but the problem is we are given land. Sometimes as Botswana, we are hungry for money. We are given land, immediately after being given money, land, we sell the land. So, Ray William, I think you can correct me on this. We have entrepreneurs, we have entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. Those two are two areas that are not the same. There are people who are dedicated to work for others. There are people who are dedicated to run their own businesses like Ray William. So to differentiate the two is a challenge. And that goes through people being attached to those living organizations so that they can show themselves that they can do it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Rita. We really appreciate your insights. Let me allow the other colleague to ask the question, who's raised their hand. Please go ahead. We have unmuted you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Onks here.
Yes, yes.
Well, but I think the basis of trying to develop sort of a citizen empowerment policy should not only should not only be trying to empower citizens. There is an issue. How do you now make sure you spread wealth among citizens? If you take an example, in South Africa, it's sort of crazy. It's in the hands of the few people, while you still have a lot of other people in the economy. So I think what should happen in Botswana, we should learn from that. We say, or whatever that we develop, we make sure we don't take this wealth and give it to the same families, kind of a select few. It should be spread.
Right. So
yeah,
I don't know if we have anybody else with the question. Before I can ask Justice to say his last 30 seconds commentary. Okay, Justice, I think just in 30 seconds, your final perspectives.
All right. I really like what Retau said about intra and entrepreneurship, because these are terms that a lot of people know. There is now they just in case some doesn't know, the entrepreneur is within the organization and doesn't have to worry about failure affecting them personally. While if you're an entrepreneur, you are risking everything for yourself. I think those are two terms to highlight. Wealth spreading because of BE was in actual fact, BE was a massive failure, to be honest. 0 to 5 families, to be honest, like Rematudi said. It was, from that point, a failure. It does not mean the architects who created it wanted it to be sometimes it's a great idea, but the implementation is wrong. In Botswana, we have a lot of those kind of things where something is on paper, like a lot of the organizations we create, they look amazing on paper. You look at DIH, you look at BITRI, you look at all these things. On paper, they look amazing, but the implementation is terrible. So we have a fiduciary responsibility as citizens to make sure that we take our government to task and make sure that if they implement one way, we take them to task. And part of doing that is just to vote at the end of the elections. Because now, if you don't address that, you don't have a say as to the implementation. But we have seen BEE, a great idea, but wrongly, and really hurt the nation because it concentrated wealth in just a few families. Now, the issue of land, Ratau touched that Botswana are given land and they sell it. Yes, we will always have some rogue elements. A lot of Botswana need land. They need land to build houses, some of them need land to do their projects. And land is very hard to get. There's those people who are given land and then they go and sell it to the likes of Jamali. Jamali didn't accumulate this land by stealing it. He bought it from people. So sometimes people do that, but we cannot say for Botswana all of them will do that, because some Botswana are looking for land genuinely to lift themselves up. They will always be, that's fine.